Wonderful. Very thankful to have Soon Chang with us today. So, she is a lecturer at North Park University. I believe she's teaching oral skills this semester. Is that correct? And she is a pianist and harpsichordist. Known for her adept interpretation of historical and contemporary works, with a passion for building meaningful connections with her audiences through music. She studied in various places with a lot of different people, like Dr. Peter Mack, and later with Alan Chow at Northwestern University. And she holds a Master's of Arts degree in harpsichord from the Royal Academy of Music in London. She has worked with a number of different ensembles and people throughout her career, including the Haymarket Opera, Pro Musica Chamber Orchestra, Friction Quartet, Vadim Glusman, Trevor Pinnock, Ars Musica Chicago, WFMT Bach Organ Project, and American Bach Soloists. She has a keen interest in discovering and sharing music by historical women and has co-founded the Ensemble Violette dedicated to that purpose. Thank you so much for joining us, Soon Chang, and welcome. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Um, Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to Jasana. She's like an amazing singer and also a wonderful administrator. So I'm really happy that she is here in this room, actually. And thank you also to Anthony. So, like he said, my name is Sun, and I do teach oral skills here. That's kind of like ear training for musicians. And he mentioned that I play piano. I also play harpsichord. I also play the gamba, which you will hear a little bit of later. I would also consider myself a bit of an improviser, a little bit of a jazz person, and I do research a little bit in historical women composers. Today, I'm going to be sharing sort of my journey through music, and I'm going to also demonstrate. That's why I'm here with this piano, this harpsichord, this gamba over there. I hope that today I can tell you that exploring your interests, even if they seem sort of off the path that you're trying to specialize in, or if they seem unrelated or unconventional, it's still meaningful to explore those things and to create something authentic and meaningful and creating something special that is you. As a side quest, I'm going to be sharing some music by women so that you can learn a little bit about their music throughout this presentation. So, before we begin, I want to ask some of you a question. Actually, all of you a question. The question is, would you consider yourself a specialist? And what does a specialist look like? Maybe people can type in the chat if they don't feel like talking, and then maybe Jasana can read them out loud. I can't see anything except the screen, so no, okay. It's okay. You can think about what it means to be a specialist. I guess, someone like an eye doctor or like a very specific organ surgeon or something would come to mind. Someone who's really specialized in the narrow thing that they do. And I feel like society needs people like that, and it values people who can be like, I do this one thing, I do it very well. And in my field, when I was starting out as a young pianist, a specialist would look like this. Let's see if I can play this video for you. Is this audible? Even if you can't hear it, you can sort of see what's going on there. And this is a famous pianist, Yi Wang. So in my field of classical piano, this would be like the gold standard for what you can be.
Yeah, and we had a few people in the chat say
Yes.
for a specialist, they
Yes.
say having a complete mastery of a subject.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sharon says she's a music appreciator.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. Okay. Another example of a specialist in my field would be something like this. I thought this article was funny because they were talking about this pianist, Yun Chen Lim, at the Clyburn competition. And he said he practiced 20 hours a day. And he was eating noodles and stews and English muffins. So that's kind of what a specialist looked like. And that was the model that I had growing up as a young pianist. For a long time, I tried to fit this mold. I was training to become this kind of pianist, and I was competing in this way, and the conservatory training I got was like this. So I felt a large pressure to become this very narrow definition of what a musician was. Along the way, though, I discovered a lot of curiosities, and by pursuing them, I was able to put it all together and become the specialist. So, in the next section, I'm going to just walk you through my various curiosities and I'll demonstrate a little bit. And then in the final section, I'm gonna tell you how all those interests cross-pollinated and created this amalgamation that is now me. So early in my journey, I was starting as a pianist. I started at age 3, apparently, according to my mom. I was in my diapers. My brain was not fully formed, but I was playing piano. And playing piano was one of the 3 things I really had to do every day. So the 3 things were I had to read, and I had to brush my teeth, and I had to practice piano. In middle school, I also sang in a little bit of choir. I taught myself guitar in this studio class. I also attempted French horn and I also attempted to play oboe, but those really like hurt my mouth. So I was like, I can't be doing this. And also, at the time, I was really feeling like, okay, if I want to become a pianist, a successful pianist, I really have to not do those things and just focus and practice 20 hours a day or whatever, you know. And then when I went to Northwestern for my undergrad, I started as a double major in piano and an undeclared major. But after the first quarter, really, I dropped my other major and just started doing piano all in. And in conservatory, you guys, I don't know why this picture is not there. You don't see the pictures. Anyway, this is meant to be, imagine yourself a picture of Bach and Beethoven and Mozart. But in conservatory training, as a pianist, you are expected to play a varied program of music from each musical period. So I'm not sure if people are familiar with the musical periods, but we have Baroque from like 1600 to 1750. Then we have classical from like 1750 till, I don't know, 1800s or whatever. Then we have Romantic, then we have the 20th and 21st centuries. So as a pianist, you're expected to play a piece from each period. So let me demonstrate what that would look like. So you would play something like, you would play from the Baroque period, from the 1600s to 1750, you would play something like Bach. And then you would play something which is the next period. play something from something like Chopin. There's like a little cute period hundreds called Impressionist, which also same period as the Monet. So play something from that period. They're cool. That was a little excerpt from Ravel. And then you would play something from the 20th/21st century. And it can range a lot of discordant music if you do choose to do that. And this is a excerpt from Messiaen, who had synesthesia. This is a 20th century excerpt. And so on. So as a pianist, you would be working on a program of varied music. But if you notice, all the composers that I played were actually men. We'll do that. We'll talk about that later. And I also want to point out that the piano, as it stands, was not invented until, I want to say, like the 1700s, 1750s. So the period, Baroque period of 1600 and 1750, all that music was written for not a piano, for the harpsichord. But it was kind of standard that pianists would play Baroque music on the piano anyway, and that was just a thing that we did. And I actually never even played a harpsichord when I was in college. Shortly after I started, I heard this piece. It's by Jean-Philippe Rameau, who is a Baroque composer a little bit before Bach, and he was in France. And like I said, pianists are mostly playing Bach on the piano for their Baroque period, and it was not common that you would play much else Baroque music on the piano. So when I heard this piece, I was very intrigued. I'm going to play for you, not exactly this piece, but a thing by Rameau. When I heard these pieces, I really enjoyed all those ornaments because I was not used to hearing all those ornaments in piano playing. So I was really interested in this Baroque period. This is meant to be a picture of a harpsichord. So I began harpsichord lessons and I joined the Baroque ensemble, and I was playing harpsichord. And I was playing this Baroque music on a historically accurate instrument. And I also learned how to play figured bass, which you can see, this is a system that they had for a keyboardist to play these left-hand notes, but then with the numbers, you are supposed to know what chord that it means, and then you improvise your right hand. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to play the same Rameau that I played on the harpsichord so you can hear how it feels different. And then maybe I'll play something that you know already on the harpsichord. harpsichord so you can hear it. So I was very intrigued by that. The second curiosity that I had was about women composers. In history class, I had to do a project in which I had to research a group of works by this composer. This is Isabella Leonarda. She was an Italian nun from the 1600s, and she published this set of violin sonatas, and it was the first work published by a woman for solo violin. And honestly, it sounds obvious now, but back then I really was shocked that women were writing in the 1600s, because my training was so predominantly male composers as a pianist. I truly did not know that women were writing back in the day, and I really thought, oh, maybe we don't play any women composers because they didn't write anything, or because they did, and it's really bad, which is horrible, but that's what I thought. But later, I was able to discover her works and other women, and this is a video of my colleague, Kioe, and I playing this beautiful sonata. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'll just play a little, and then you can watch it later if you like. Is it audible? Okay. I really love this piece, so you can... Okay, so after I discovered Isabella Leonarda and also discovered all these other women composers, I was sort of in a bind, because if we look at these pictures, this is a screenshot that I took like a week ago of, I think this is Van Cliburn competition, and this is I'm not sure, one of the big piano competitions. But if you look at this repertoire list, you notice that you have to play all these people, and none of them are women. So I was thinking, wow, so if I wanted to become a competition or recital pianist and I wanted to succeed, I have to play this music, and I don't have time to prepare or discover any of this music by women. So then at that point, I said, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I really wholeheartedly embraced all my curiosities. I eventually, oh my gosh. Okay, I eventually went to, after I graduated, I worked on a cruise ship, and we played some piano quintets, a lot of classical ones, but we also played arrangements of jazz, rock, and pop. And a very classic and popular song that I played a lot on the cruise was this one. I don't know if you will recognize. So I was playing arrangements of that sort of thing. I was playing classical music, I was playing all sorts of stuff. Then I also met my husband on the cruise. He was a bassist and he was from a jazz and rock background. And because I wanted to play with him, I eventually learned how to play jazz. Then I also, because I wasn't spending 20 hours a day practicing all this competition rep, I had time to discover other things. I had a roommate who was a violinist, so she taught me violin. Then I also got into playing the viola da gamba, which maybe this is a good time to have a little viola da gamba tangent. So I will show you the viola da gamba. So if you can see, this is the viola da gamba, and it's kind of like a cello, but it's different in that it has 6 strings, and it's tuned in fourths with the third in the middle, so kind of like a guitar. And it has gut strings and frets. So it's kind of an ancient cello-ish, and I'll play you a little bit so you know what it sounds like. Oh, and there's no end in it, so I have to hold it between my legs. So that's the viola da gamba, which was written, which was existing at the same time as this instrument, so they put together. Okay. So after I was exploring all my curiosities, this was me. Wait, there's no confused person graphic, but I was confused and I didn't know what or who I was. But I realized that, success does not mean you follow a certain path. In my field, I'm not really a classical pianist. I'm not a competition or recital pianist, but I am someone that nobody else is, which is me. So in the third part, I'm going to hopefully quickly sort of show you how all those different disparate skills sort of cross-pollinated and fed into each other. So the obvious thing is that my harpsichord playing really informed how I play Baroque music on the piano, obviously. So some pianists, I think because they don't know what a harpsichord sounds like or feels like, I think they have this idea that the harpsichord is a very jangly, unmusical instrument. So I feel that sometimes when pianists play Baroque music, they are trying to emulate the sound of a harpsichord, and they say, oh, harpsichord is unmusical and kind of weird sounding. So some people would play like this. Something like that. But obviously, you heard before, the harpsichord does not sound like that. It sounds musical and singing. So I can take what I learned on the harpsichord and play it on the piano. cross-pollination was between early music and jazz, which is kind of weird, but I think it will make sense. So in jazz, when you play piano, often you'll get a sheet like this. You'll have the melody on this line, and then you'll get the chords. Kind of similar to figured bass, where you get a bass line and some chords. So I'll actually do this on the piano so that I don't have to go all the way over there. But before I played jazz, I was kind of under the impression that when you play figured bass, you kind of have to do it like correctly. So I was playing figured bass like this. Which is correct. I'm playing all the right chords at the right time. But after I learned how to improvise all sorts of things on jazz, I took that freedom that I got from improvising into my figured bass playing. So I could play the exact same bass line with the exact same numbers and have more creativity. So being in a musical environment where freedom and improvisation are celebrated really helped me bring that mindset into the Baroque sphere, which previously I thought was very rigid and square, but actually it's not. The third cross-pollination was between my gamba playing and my piano playing, which, you know, when I figured this out, I really was so happy. But when you see this music on the bottom here, that's a little excerpt from one of the pieces that I play on the piano. And in French Baroque music, there's a lot of different ornaments. So you can see that there's one that's like a bird shaped and one that's sort of like squiggly. And they were meant to be different somehow. So I was thinking, how are they different? Because it just sounds like this. So I was really struggling with this, and I was really wanting to go back to time and ask the composer, what did you mean when you wrote all these different sort of squigglies on there? But during a gamba lesson, here's the gamba excerpt on the top. This X means the same thing as this bird-looking thing. And I was talking to my gamba teacher, and I was saying, how do you execute this trill? And apparently, on gamba, you have to do it different. You have to do it like. So to play that squiggly or X, I have to play like this, with the emphasis on the front. And I cannot play like this. So, you know, after a lesson of distinguishing between and, I was able to realize what this composer meant when she wrote that squiggly and the other squiggly. So, if I play this excerpt again, I meant to play it like. Which I feel like makes so much more sense than indeterminate squigglies. I hope you could hear a little bit of a difference. Okay. So, to conclude, when you put all that together, you have the freedom that I got from jazz. I have the interest from women composers. I have my piano background. I have my harpsichord background. I have all that French ornamentation knowledge from playing the gamba. I feel like that puts me at a place to be able to interpret a very specific work that I'm working on an album for. This is a body of work by Elizabeth Claude Jacques de la Guerre, who was born in 1665. She worked in the court of Louis XIV, and she was quite a classy lady, as you can see in her portrait, and she wrote a lot of amazing stuff. She wrote like 6 suites for solo harpsichord, and it has never been recorded on the piano. Even though like works by Bach have been recorded on the piano, works by Couperin have been recorded on the piano, but no one has recorded Jacques Deleguer on the piano. So I aim to be the first one to do that. And I'm going to play for you this little, this is a prelude from her suite. If you can see, if you're familiar with notation, you can see that it's weird. There's no like measures or rhythmic really. There's like weird whole notes. And what you're meant to do in this unmeasured prelude is sort of improvise your own rhythmic organization of the notes. So I will play this for you and then you can sort of follow along, I think, if you want. I hope you enjoyed hearing that. There is a link. I did record a little bit of that, and I could probably send it to you via Jasana if you'd like that. So to conclude, yes, there is a mold of what a specialist success looks like, but I think following your curiosities and letting those interests guide you can actually lead to some unexpected results, and it can help you become the most authentic version of yourself to become the specialist. That's my talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I did want to offer an opportunity here. Is there any questions that anyone has? You can feel free to pop those in chat or you can come off mute.
I'm very, very curious how you interact with students and students who are also on a journey, and how do you direct them to follow their own path?
Wow, that's an amazing question. How do I interact with students who are also following their own path. I feel like I want to lead by example.
Mm.
So when I'm teaching ear training, I really want to have examples that expose them to women composers or people who are not as represented. And hopefully, that assignment that I did for Isabella Leonarda, that was from a teacher that wanted me to explore something. So I'm hoping that in my classes, I can give them little tidbits of things. And some students might be like, actually, that one assignment where you made me read that one thing was great. So that's my approach. But I will take suggestions if you have any.
Such a great question. Thank you. Any others that we have?
Oh, want to follow up on how you deal with people who are not curious, who just want to follow the rules. They want to stay rigid, and they're sort of afraid to step outside some sort of confinement. How do you help them?
You know, I have like two thoughts about that. I think one thought is we do sometimes need people who really want to do one thing. You know what I mean? In society, there's people who are going to be like, I actually just want some structure and I want to just do the thing that I want to do. And we probably need some people like that. But on the other hand, I if people are afraid to explore because maybe they have pressures, maybe they feel like, I have to do this one path. I hope also I can lead by example by saying, listen, here's an example of someone who didn't do one thing and I'm happy and I'm, you know, making it through. So hopefully they see that and feel, wow, it's okay if I want to explore something. Amazing question, though.
Yeah. Any other questions that we have? Okay, well, thank you so much, Sun, for joining us. Are there any projects, any performances that you have coming up, places where we can check out your work?
Absolutely. So this weekend on Sunday at 1:50 p.m., I am playing at Thirsty Years Festival, which is Chicago's only outdoor classical music festival. And I'll be playing with my trio. We're called Trio Taillefer, named after the composer. And we're going to be playing a piano trio by her and also a piano trio by Jennifer Higdon, another composer who is a woman. She is alive still. And yeah, and then other things are on my website, which is
What's your website?
sunchainmusic.com.
sunshangmusic.com. So definitely check that out. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. This talk, along with all of our Compass talks, will be added to our YouTube. So definitely check those out. Next month, we have Dr. Ida K. Madram, a professor of education, who will join us to discuss the importance of informational books in early childhood literacy. So it should be a really interesting talk to hear about how 3 to 5 year olds kind of develop literacy skills. So that's going to be Wednesday, September 17th at 12 p.m. I'm going to drop a link into the chat right here so you can click on that and register yourself right now. We look forward to seeing you there and hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.